people would come to me and they would either tell me, finally, our story is being told, or finally, it's being told from a female perspective. And now, as a woman, I also feel free, almost liberating, to speak about my history, about my background, about what I've been through.
Right. Sip of water. All right, that's the beginnings are always the hardest part. Welcome, Anita, and thanks for making that trip all the way out here.
Thank you for having me, Elmar. Yeah,
it's nice. We've been, I think, throughout the last few years, we've had a lot of conversations on through social media, actually through Instagram, I think primarily, and so it's nice to see you again. You're looking well.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Cool. Good, I'm glad. Hopefully you came with public transport,
I came
right?
with public transportation. I thought, let's just avoid traffic. You never know.
That's fair.
So, no, it was a good travel. Yeah.
No delays.
No delays. It was easy. I was able to look around, get inspired by people walking on the platform, cows walking around, and
in the train station.
Not in the train station.
Okay, that's like
the countryside.
The countryside. Oh yeah. You live way out in the boondocks, so you know.
Sorry to pause.
Yeah.
Anita, can you lower your mic a bit?
Yeah, of course.
Is it getting all up in your face?
Yeah, it's really like.
How's that?
That's much better.
How's my face? That's good.
No, exactly how his face is.
It was in my face.
You're straight up. You're like sitting like, oh, wait.
Yeah, fair enough.
She's just like chilling.
I'm slouching.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm.
No, it's
All right, that's it.
Okay.
All right. No, this is. We got to be comfortable.
Oh, the chairs are always too high for me, so I'm not.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, they're always too low for me. So. That's it. That's we need not a Cinderella chair, Goldilocks chair. That's one that's perfect for everybody.
That would be perfect. Yeah, exactly.
Nice. All right. So good journey. You're here. I've got a list of questions that I scribbled down very, very quickly. I think we're just going to start from the beginning.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going all the way back.
All the way back.
Because you do films, you do stuff. What inspired you to get into making films in the first place? Like, what made you want to do it and pursue it?
Wow, then we're going way back, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think it was during my childhood, growing up. My dad was always pointing a camera at us. These home videos. He would make these home videos. And recently, my the house I grew up in was sold, and I found about 55 of those old VHS videotapes. What's it called?
VHS tapes. Yeah.
So I knew we had some, but I didn't know we had that many. And it's super cool because then I found out I was 15 days old when I have my first video, which is quite unique. And I think it inspired me because my dad was always around with the camera, whether it was birthdays or, holidays, vacation, celebrations of whatever, Christmas, whatsoever.
Yeah.
So then I think because I saw him videoing my life and then filming my life, and then maybe that little seed was planted in my system.
Yeah.
To also maybe pursue this hobby, and I think that's where it started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And did you then go straight to studying it afterwards, or?
Oh no, actually no, not at all. So at some point I was allowed to hold the camera myself, and I have a younger sister, and we would make our own videos, goofing around and putting songs, and then doing weird choreography and filming each other.
So TikTok before TikTok.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, you could say that. And then I mean, I didn't have any editing programs. It was just the way you would film it in the camera, and you would put it in this big tape, and then you put it in the recorder, and then you would watch it, and that's it. There was no color grading. There was no editing.
Raw.
But it's raw. But the directing was really cool.
Okay.
And thinking about the whole idea of what to film and how to film it. But so. No, there was no film school at that point in the future or planned. But I think I was I wanted to become an actress actually.
Okay. For having the camera, being in the camera all the time.
I thought I don't want to be the one bossing around. I want to be in front and being the star. And so I wanted to become an actress, and so I did a lot of theater.
Yeah.
I went to theater school, and that was actually my dream career. So that didn't work out, unfortunately.
Fair. Yeah.
But then, in high school, I did a lot of with the same camera that my dad used to have. We did a lot of videoing, with filming with students, projects, and things like that. So I would always be behind the camera because I was the only one with the camera, and then
fair enough.
I was in charge of that. But the actual idea of maybe pursuing a career as a filmmaker came, I would say, around 2015. Something like that.
Okay, so actually go quite a bit later.
Yeah,
no?
quite a bit later, because I grew up in a family where it's better to become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer.
Yeah.
And not to pursue a career in arts or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it was not really on my mind. I mean, I wanted to become an actress, and my parents, they supported me also. But it was like the main goal was to get a job that you can earn money with and pay your bills and
stability.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and maybe a little status as well.
Status, be independent, and the rest was for your spare time. Yeah. So it was quite later in life, so to say, that I decided maybe I should try to learn a little bit more about the whole filmmaking that I always thought was interesting. But what is it, and what do you need, and how can you actually make a film?
Yeah.
So that was I think in 2015, 2016, when I took a short course at SAE in Rotterdam, and where I got to learn basic skills about the whole process of writing your script and directing it, and picking your cast and your crew and editing and sound and light and all these things. And that was really interesting, and it helped me a lot to jumpstart.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I have no follow-up question on that one. Good. Okay, nice. So if I may ask, like, what was there a particular trait? Like, what were you doing at the time, for work, if I may ask?
Yeah, of course. I was working at the Hague University in an office. I had a 9-to-5 job. Not much creativity involved in that job,
Fair.
which maybe was also the reason why I was even more eager to make a switch, I would say.
Yeah, you're feeling you're missing something.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I always thought I would become an actress or a dancer or something on stage. So if you're stuck in an office in a 9-to-5 job where there is not much creativity involved, then at some point, I think in life, it needs to get out. And I was coordinating a course for international students, and I was in charge of quality control of the education, coordinating the minors, things like that. So
Okay, yeah, well, definitely exciting stuff.
yeah.
School admin. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know nothing about that either. But no, fair enough. I mean, we met at SAE, and at the time I was teaching, but I was also the academic coordinator, and that was a lot of administration as well, and it really kind of ended up taking a toll, I think, for me, because I didn't have that creative outlet either, and so I can understand the desire to do something that more your expression. That you can
Yes,
express
exactly.
yourself.
Yeah. And it was actually through them that I was able to take the course, or not able to take the course, but they they helped me to take the course. So that was really cool, because I was going to quit my job there, and I was going to do something else, and there was a little extra budget for me to take the course. So that was really nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So 2015, you finished the short course, and you were still working at the Hague University at the time, or?
So I quit my job there, and then I took 6 months off to travel to Sweden and to Norway. Yeah, beautiful. Together with my husband, we decided to take 6 month sabbatical, if you will, and we are outdoor adventure seekers.
Fair.
So we do a lot of hiking in the mountains and canoeing, which Sweden and Norway are perfect countries for that. And we like to pitch our tent everywhere, and just wild camping and do trekking. So we found this project that we wanted to raise money for at that time, which was called Saving the Arctic, and so people could sponsor us. And I thought, okay, how they need to know what we're doing up there in the mountains and on the water. So I did. I made videos, not really vlogging, but videos of what is it like. What's it like to be in the mountains, being self-sufficient and pitching your tent and carrying a backpack with 18 kilos, and because our friends and family, they always thought, oh, you're so cool, you're doing this, but we have no idea what it's like.
Yeah.
So I thought the best way is to make videos. And we had a website at that time, so we would post the videos, and then people would sponsor us, and we would raise money for this particular project.
Yeah.
So that's what we did at that time. And then we came back after 6 months, and I didn't have a job anymore, because I had quit my job at the university. So I did. I was a temp here and there, and then I decided to go to the KVK, the Chamber of Commerce, and start my own company as a filmmaker.
Lab 8 works.
Lab 8 works. Yes, actually, I say Lab 8 works, but
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
it sounds better. But it's Lab 8. Yeah,
Which one sounds better?
Lab 8.
Really?
I think Lab 8 sounds nice.
I guess it has more flow, but it's something about Dutch. What's that? Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, that was 2017.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a couple of years later.
Yeah. I started my own company, and at the same time, it's a funny story, but I also became a personal fitness trainer. So it's also completely two different things again. So I always joke around daytime personal trainer, in the evening editing behind my computer, and yeah.
Nice. Okay, so were you doing your own sort of personal projects, or were you doing a more sort of like commercial work at that time then for video?
So because I didn't have a lot of income, I decided to, or not really decided, I mean, do you ever decide on these things? I mean, being a videographer or filmmaker, however you want to call it, it's a free, right? It's a free profession. You pick up a camera and you start filming, and then you call yourself a filmmaker. So
fair. Yeah.
I really loved doing the artsy projects, and I don't mean that in a derogative way, but the projects where there was not a lot of budget. So after movies, festivals or I don't know, things like that. And because I could get creative in those,
Right.
especially in the editing part of the videos. But then I would take more commercial kind of projects because that would pay the bills. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair to say, right? So
Absolutely.
there would be companies who would need videos about the product or the service that they were providing, or for their I don't know, like different kind of projects. So that would pay the bill.
Yeah, exactly. A pretty standard format, right? Probably talking head video, some product shots, some action shots as B-roll overlaid, and
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, there was sometimes the company would have a clear format of what they wanted. So that's fine. I mean, you tell me how you want it and I'll do it that way. And sometimes the company would have no idea. Most of the times there were smaller companies. There would be no communication.
first
marketing.
first time they're making a video,
Exactly.
probably. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
And that would be nice because you would sit together and talk about the video, the layout, and they would sometimes they would heavily rely on my experience or our experience. I work together with my husband a lot on what would be the best video. You know, for example, they would tell me, "Yeah, we have planned for a video of 15 minutes to tell our people about our products." And I would tell them, you know, I would love to charge you for 15 minutes, but there's nobody who's going to watch a video for 15 minutes. And they would really appreciate our honesty because they would have no idea. And we would tell them, you know, 90 seconds, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, really? Can you fit all of this in 90 seconds? I said, yes. If we think about it, you know, if we decide on what is really necessary.
Yeah.
And that would be nice. And it would also be, for me, it would be a good learning process to be honest to this partner in such a situation, right? Because they're completely blank, and they if you're honest upfront, they might give you another assignment.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Like you build trust
you
actually
build
with
trust.
the with
Yeah.
people. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Nice.
So that was what I was doing at that time. And also the fitness came in handy because the camera would be super heavy. And
Keep talking.
the camera would be super heavy. And then, so it was good that I was, you know, working on my muscles and carrying my camera because I do all the filming myself. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. You think we were talking before. You're saying like your husband does mostly lights.
Lights, and sometimes he's a journalist, so sometimes he would be the one interviewing.
Okay.
And then I would be behind the camera. So he would be doing that part.
Yeah, so you could focus on making sure you were capturing the video.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes the content of the video would be so specific, and it would be more, you know, for him to do that. So that I wouldn't have to read into the whole stuff about, I don't know, whatever company we're visiting or
Right. He'd have all that
factory.
knowledge before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice. I'm gonna keep looking this way. What was it that you were trying to show me? You have to make it way bigger. Yeah, that was like make it bigger.
Okay, I thought it was like, oh, it's a thing, okay. No,
No.
I'll double check with you because I don't see the hard drive reducing in space. Is that normal?
I think because that one is really, really large for the file
It
size.
hasn't moved at all, and it's been almost 10 minutes now, and it's still the 69%. Has that changed?
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Okay, so maybe it changes when I pause it. Can I pause? Let me pause and see what happens.
All right. It probably
Oh,
still.
yeah. Now it updates.
That's weird. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't update it while on the fly. I was kind of.
Well, that's not useful, actually, at all. Okay.
It's showing how much is left.
I'll send Black Magic some feedback on that one.
All right. Sorry about that. Just want to make sure it's recording on the.
No worries. All right. I'll do another.
Still doing okay?
Yes.
All
right.
I'm recording.
Cool. Oh, wait, another tap for the sync. It's just fun to do. You don't actually need. Well, if you have to line it up manually, then it is. Anyway. All right.
Oh, I do that a lot as well.
Manual alignment.
Now I have a proper clapboard, but I used to do it manually, and it would impress people a lot.
Ooh, you can clap.
If you would go to a set, and I would be like, and then like, why are you doing this? Wow. Oh, shall I do it?
If you really want. Yeah. If it makes you feel good. Yeah.
It's funny because when you go to a company or whatever, you're filming there, people are so impressed with the whole setup of lights and cameras and the whole technique that comes with it, and they're super nervous, and then you're putting the microphone on their shirt or whatever. And they're super nervous. So first you need to break the ice and do the sound check and things like that. So it's nice. It's I think it also you need to be good with people to do those kind of projects.
Definitely. Yeah, building that rapport. But so do you think, so we're going to shift gears. So you did, you made a documentary, what was it called? Hindoestaanse?
Yeah, so the Dutch title is Hindoestaanse Immigratie door de ogen van de vrouw.
That's it, yeah.
The English, there is no English version, but there is a version with English subtitles.
Yeah.
So I translated it to the Hindustani immigration through the eyes of the women.
Yeah, it makes it pretty direct.
Pretty direct translation. I made a documentary. Is it almost?
It's like 3 or 4 years ago.
No.
No, it's more. No. It's you.
It's 2
it
years
shared
ago?
in 2023.
Oh my!
Yeah.
This is embarrassing. I don't even know when I made it.
I know it premiered in 2023, so it's at least 2 years old.
Yes, so then I made it. April 23.
Yeah.
April 20. Yeah, I started 1st of April. No joke. 23. I started with the project.
Oh wow! Okay, so actually, it was done and completed right as 2020, and then
it was done and completed in 3 months.
Oh, not bad. Actually, like some projects take a lot longer.
I know, it was insane. It was insane. No, I did that documentary. You want to ask me something about it, or do you want me to?
No, I just want to say that. That's it. This interview's done. All right, let's go. We can have lunch now. No. So what I was thinking of, because like you were mentioning about like the interviewing and how like connecting with the people when you're going in to film them and stuff was really important, and that was in the context of the more let's say corporate work,
yes.
right? The corporate videos. Yeah. Did you? Corporate. I mean, they're not corporations, but anyway, you know what I mean. Like that sort of businessy type videos,
exactly.
Right? And of course, the funny thing about those videos, I make them as well, is that they follow a fairly similar structure in a lot of ways to your sort of bog standard documentary, right? It's talking heads with loads of B-roll over top of it. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like a nice template that you can copy over to make a documentary. And this was your first documentary, I think, that you made, or
yes, that's true. And so this documentary was made as an assignment for the municipality of The Hague, the gemeente Den Haag, together with the Haagse Historisch Museum, the historical museum in The Hague. So 2023 was an anniversary year for celebrating or commemorating, depends on which side you are in history.
Fair.
It was 150 years ago that the first indentured laborers set foot in Suriname. So this was after the abolishment of slavery in the Dutch colony of Suriname.
Yeah.
In 1873. So slavery was abolished, and the plantation owners still needed laborers, and people from India, which was then British India. India was a colony of England. They said they came to Suriname to work on the plantations. So 2023 was an anniversary year, and the municipality of The Hague, they asked me to make a documentary about the history of this event about the history and yeah, to for educational purposes actually, because there is a huge gap in Dutch school systems when it comes to the slavery and the colonial history of the Netherlands, and they have quite a history when it comes to that.
Yeah,
and,
fair point.
So I was very eager to make this documentary, and I have roots in India. My ancestors are actually indentured laborers from India, so it was also a personal project, if you will, in a way. So I made that together with my husband. We was just the two of us. 3 months. It was crazy hard work. They had the gemeente, the municipality didn't really have a clear idea of what they wanted. They wanted to show it in the classrooms, but they didn't really know what it was supposed to look like. Initially, they thought that it should be 20 minutes. I told them that's a bit short to tell such a big history in 20 minutes. And I didn't feel comfortable with that, that amount of time.
Yeah.
So I doubled it and I made it 50 minutes. But still, there's a lot to tell. But what was really appealing to me is that they asked for a female perspective. Because, yes, in history in general, I would say, stories are being told from a male perspective. And if you would narrow it down to the Hindustani Surinamese community, the culture is also very male dominant. So stories that are told by women they're hard to find.
Yeah.
So for me, it was also interesting from that perspective to take up this assignment and only look for women who were willing to share their stories on camera, and I did.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So some follow-up questions on that one then.
Yeah.
So were you actually approached directly from the museum and the gemeente, or did you say like, wait, I have this idea, or was there an open call that you could solicit?
No. So funny, they there was somebody working at the gemeente and there was somebody working at the museum, and they both mentioned my name because they were looking for a female filmmaker from the Hague area who was from Hindustani Suriname descent. Apparently, there are not many.
Given the drive or the importance on safe jobs, I can imagine that the creative side would be a little more niche.
And then there was from both sides. There was somebody who mentioned my name, which was super. Yeah, I mean, I felt super honored, and that's how I got the assignment. Yeah, so they called me and they asked me, "This is what we want to do. Can you make it? What do you think about this? Is it something you want to commit to?" And yeah, I gave it some thought. I was actually traveling at that moment, so I had to come back. I was in Spain, and I had to come back and actually work on it and do everything in those months.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Well, yeah, that's not often you hear that. That somebody's like, "Oh, via," but okay, cool. That worked out actually.
Yeah.
And I watched it. I watched it last night, and I wanted to have it sort of fresh. I watched it on very little sleep while half asleep, but I stayed awake, so it was interesting enough. So there you go. That's it was really interesting. I think it's like you say. Like, I mean, okay, I grew up in Canada, even though my roots are Dutch and Indonesian. But in Canada as well, there's not a lot of. I think it's a running trend that there's the brain. Okay, look, there tends to be the trend to sort of push down, I think, some of the, like, let's say, darker aspects of a country's history. And for sure that's there too. So I can understand. I can imagine that for people here that this would be, the whole thing about indentured servitude and all that kind of stuff would be not something that is widely known or discussed about. So for me, not knowing much. But like I knew it existed, but the video put a lot more into perspective that I wasn't aware of, even not from being here, but I can imagine from here also.
Well, it's funny that you bring it up because so the documentary was screened in different theaters in the Netherlands. It was also aired on TV West. They have, I think, every Saturday or a Saturday per month, they are airing a documentary that was made regionally. And then, it was there. And then it was also on the television in Suriname. But then especially in the theaters in the Netherlands, in the film theaters, non-Surinamese people would visit the documentary, and I would go around for Q&As, and I think it's very important to be present there because it's a conversation starter. I noticed that, and I'm really happy with that outcome of the documentary, because what happened is that people would come together, they would see the documentary, and then they would know more about a shared history. And a shared history that is not being shared in school.
Yeah.
So people would come to me and they would either tell me, finally, our story is being told, or finally, it's being told from a female perspective. And now, as a woman, I also feel free, almost liberating, to speak about my history, about my background, about what I've been through.
Right.
So you would have that. And then you would have people who are non-Surinamese, and they would come to me and they would tell me, I didn't know that our people, like the white Dutch people, did this.
Yeah.
And so, having that as an outcome of the documentary, to me, that's rewarding, because that's what I wanted to accomplish with it. It's very educational. The documentary is very educational. Professor Hufte, Rosemarijn Hufte, who is awesome. She has so much knowledge, and she has a very structured and clear way of speaking.
She's the one you interviewed in the
documentary. She's the professor who talks about the history, right? About the whole history of how it came about that slavery was abolished, and that the Dutch took people from British India to...
Yeah, I thought she was very well informed and very clearly...
Exactly. And that's why I chose her to be in the documentary, because I wanted people to understand in a way that was easy to grasp. And I think I made that point. I think I accomplished that, and I'm happy with that.
Nice, good.
Yeah.
No, I definitely, it was really interesting, and I guess in some senses with a documentary, oftentimes a documentary is about sharing some truth or trying to share something that belongs or that's important to the filmmaker themselves, right? And
now, well, and I also want to add maybe that it's so I was given carte blanche for this documentary by the municipality and the museum, in a way that they didn't have a clear format on how I should film it or what I should film or who I should film. But I feel that it's not a sexy documentary to look at, right? It's a lot of talking head, it's a lot of voiceover, it's a lot of archive material. But for me, having storytelling, like personal stories of women who were born in Suriname, who have these dreams and their sadness, their sorrow, their pain, and to share that on camera, to have it intertwined with the historical facts. For me, that was like the important part, to make the history more human.
Yeah,
Do you know
I
what
wanted to
mean?
say
Yeah.
like it made it personal in a way that you could
yes.
feel it. Yeah.
Yes, and that was important to me, because I mean, anybody can go to a library and get a textbook and read about the history, and that's
Snore.
yeah. But I would have wanted to maybe even add more to it, but I was limited in budget, in time, and
Yeah.
resources. So yeah, in general,
Struggle, huh?
the struggle.
Struggle is real. Yes.
yeah.
No, I mean, for me, it really worked. And what I'm curious about is sort of two things, because you mentioned during the screenings that there would be like Surinamese and Hindustani women who would come to you and say, like, finally our story is being told. I feel this liberation, and that they feel that they can now talk more freely about their experiences. So this is a kind of a two-parter question that I'm going to try to roll into one. Yeah. Given the fact that there is, and it was also mentioned in the documentary itself by one of the women, of course. I mean, I think it's for many women in that time frame, like turn of the 20th century and prior to it. Most women, the rule was to be, what is it, like, seen but not heard?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah,
so you had to
yeah.
be polite, you had to, and you kept your emotions yourself, whatever.
Yeah.
And so to have that baked in culturally is, like you said, being the not as important as the men, and so on and so forth, or like in society's eyes, let's say, because face it, women are perhaps even more important than men. But anyway,
I know what you mean, yeah.
This idea that, okay, for them to then feel comfortable speaking out about it on camera, like that feels like an achievement. Like, first of all, how did you find them, and did they need the convincing to open up and talk, and how did you make them comfortable, and how did you get them to speak out so openly and honestly?
Good question. No, really, it's so I had the idea that I wanted this, right? I wanted to have real women on camera, and I knew it was going to be hard because of my knowledge of how close the society, our community is. But then mostly through my father, who has a big network in The Hague, I was able to find these women, and I would call them. I would call them up and tell them that I would come to have a cup of tea with them. And I would go there first with no cameras, no nothing, no equipment, just by myself and my notebook. And I would tell them who I was, what I was doing, and slowly just started talking about whatever they wanted to tell about their past life. So really get them to trust me to a certain level, to open up and talk about their dreams and their sorrow and these things. And then I would tell them, can I come back and do this again? And then with
a camera. Okay.
And then you would see them, like, what, camera? No, but I'm not that important. Because for them, being filmed or being interviewed as the main character, that was only for other people, people who accomplished something in their lives, or for men, or for, I don't know, the president. Not for them, because who were they? They were just
some women from Suriname.
Yeah. So then I would oftentimes have to call with their children or their grandchildren to explain to them what we're going to do, because they also had to sign a waiver.
Yeah.
and explain to them about this project. So yeah, it took some time. It took some effort. And I have 13 hours of footage for a documentary
that
of
you cut down to 50 minutes. Yeah.
So, talk about kill your darlings. It's I think I could have.
Yeah, I can wonder how many of those, some of those responses that you had to leave out because they didn't fit with the narrative, maybe, but
exactly.
were just very powerful.
Yeah. That was really tough. That was really tough. Yeah, that was really tough because during the whole process, I created a bond with these women, and I wanted to do justice to their story.
Yeah.
To not just, have them for only a few quotes in the documentary, but to really try to transfer their personality onto the screen, and it worked because I whenever I thought, okay, people are going to laugh now, people laughed in the theater. People are going to cry now, they cried.
Nice.
So it worked out. But still, there are some powerful stories still left. To who knows what I'm going to do with that.
I wanted to say, I mean, maybe there's a part 2 or the director's cut, full 13 hours. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Do you think then that by having sharing the origins of being, I think you're Hindustani as well, right? Like I'm confused.
Yeah.
I have to ask. I'm confused about like Hindoestani as a word. Like, is that specifically to Indians from Suriname that they have that, or is Hindustani also a broader term for
the diaspora?
Yeah,
from India. So it could be people living in Trinidad Tobago. It could be people from Jamaica. It could be, but it's typical for. Because we're in the Netherlands, so we in especially in The Hague, we have the largest group. So Hindoestaan is people who have ancestors in India, but not directly from India, right? So there is a country in between, which is now Suriname. So
in this case, for you,
for me, my parents were born in Suriname. I was born in the Netherlands.
Yeah. And so do you feel like that having that background yourself, like having that shared background helped you connect with the women? Do you think that helped you sort of build that bond with them or convince them to speak out?
Definitely, because I don't think they would have been so open, would share so many intimate details about their life with someone from a different background.
Yeah. Like it just brings a sort of trust almost with it.
Yes, of course. And although I don't speak our own language, which is Sarnami, I can understand it. I can speak it a little bit, but that also helped.
Yeah.
Because talking about emotions and it's easier in your own language, right?
Absolutely.
So I would understand that, and funnily, is that a word?
It's an absolute word. Yeah.
I was at that point when I was asked to do this documentary, I was in my own personal project involved of tracing back my own roots, my personal roots. I found this photo in our family photo album with people on the picture that I didn't recognize. So. And there was this one woman in particular who was her skin was so fair. I thought, how could I be related to this woman? So I was tracing back, and then doors started to close. Like I would call
sort of like dead ends.
I would call relatives and like, no, we don't talk about this story. Like, okay, but now I do want to know.
Yeah, like if there's one way to get someone to want to dig into something, right? Like, no, don't look at that.
So that was at the same time, and friends of mine who had said a project was called Her Story. So they brought women together who were tracing their roots through women in their own family history, right? Which is super cool. And I was also involved in that project. So because of this photo. And then this documentary came. So it was like, it had
almost like the perfect.
So I learned a lot about my own history. So in general, right, the history of indentured laborship, people from British India, I learned a lot from that. And then also what it has been like for women to live their life in Suriname. And because, of course, I have my own mother who was also born in Suriname, but she was quite young. She was 21 when she came to the Netherlands. So that's different. And I don't have any grandparents anymore, so I can't ask them. Yeah.
Fair. And during the screenings, did you have any pushback on in Suriname or here? Because I imagine it's maybe for some a little bit of a dicey subject.
Yes. Well, so I just mentioned, right? I think this is shared history.
Yep.
I'm not a big fan of talking about they and us and we and them and whatever. It's a shared history. It's there's a whole debate on the Netherlands making an apology for the history of slavery and colonial systems, and also the king. And to me, it's there's no debate in comparing slavery to indentured laborship. It's all a black history. It's all sad and bad, and we don't need to compare
who had it worse or
exactly. And so what happened is because I asked Professor Rosemarijn Hufte, who is a white Dutch woman, to be the main character in the documentary who talks about the history and the facts. I got some criticism why I asked a white woman to talk about the history. And to me, it's a shared history, whether it's a white person or a black person or a brown person. There was no issue for me.
Yeah.
And maybe I didn't think that through when I asked her.
Yeah.
But when I was working towards the premiere, then and I was talking to someone who was going to interview me, and then she asked me the question. It's like, okay.
Wait, what?
Okay, so maybe I should think about why. And the reason, I already mentioned it, the reason I asked her is that she has such a excellent way of explaining and speaking, and she's so knowledgeable. So for me, that was the reason that I asked her. She was the best person that I could ask.
Yeah, I think from that perspective, like you said, it wasn't that she brought it across, and it wasn't like she was coloring it either. So I think that like her delivery was quite neutral. Like she was quite factual about it.
Exactly.
She wasn't detached from it. So, but it was nice that, because maybe someone who told that perspective who had lived it or know somebody who lived it, there might have been a lot more emotional, I want to say ladding.
Yeah.
I'll say that in English. Lived here too long. That there might have been much more emotion behind it.
And that's a good point, because when I started writing the script for the documentary, I had one thing clear for myself. I didn't want to take a stand in this.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be as objective as possible for the viewer to make up their own mind of what they think about this history, right? Yeah. So like I said, this is a whole discussion right now about apologies, and there's a group of people saying, no, we don't need apologies. It has been such a long time ago. Let's move on, and we don't need to get rid of the plates for the streets and the statues and such. And then you have this group said, no, we still need apologies, and we need
that all needs to disappear, all these visual symbols and stuff. Yeah.
So keeping that in mind, when I was writing the script, I thought, okay, this is interesting. So how am I going to, what do I want to bring with my documentary, because there are many textbooks written, there are articles written, there are also documentaries made about this topic, and many of them have a clear, they have a clear view on how they feel about this.
Right.
And because the assignment was make something that we can use for educational purposes, I thought it's nice, it's good to have something that at the end you can start a conversation and then think about it, about what you've just experienced from the documentary. And if you're interested in a topic, there is so much more that you can read or. So for me, that was clear that the main person that was going to talk about the history should be as neutral as possible.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you feel about after watching it, but I'm hoping that you feel that I'm as a maker, am not giving you the message the history was bad or the history was good.
So I will say, when she first popped up that screen, I was like, oh, unexpected. Okay. Like, I was like, all right, Hindoestaanse Vrouw. Okay. She's pretty white. Yeah. But actually, again, like you said, like her delivery was like, she never like sugarcoated anything, I think, but she also never loaded it on the negative side either. Like it was a fair, to me, it felt like a very neutral delivery. And so it was actually pretty straight and not dry. Fortunately, it wasn't like super dry, but like the emotional connection and came from the women, the Hindoestaanse vrouwen.
Yeah.
So, and again, it isn't like, I also don't think that there's a necessarily bad or good on this side. It's like you say, these histories happened, and it was at a different time when there was a different mindset, and I didn't feel like your documentary really was indeed trying to show everything. It felt that kind of idea, like, okay, where you feel something, you learn something about it, and you get to feel the impact on the people who lived it, which didn't make it accusatory or anything like that. So I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
But I was sorry.
No.
I was going to say, like, what I was curious about is, I mean, this is probably pure speculation, but given the fact that there were probably plenty of, let's say, like stereotypical or regional Dutch people who viewed it, so pale skin and all that, light skinned and blonde hair and all that, I'm wondering if her being in there telling the story might have helped some to accept it. That sounds like a weird thing to say, but like, you think that, oh, well, she's telling the story and she's on our side, so okay, we can believe it, and now we can invest more into what's happening. What we're hearing from the ladies who were being interviewed, who had lived that experience. Loaded question.
Yeah, very loaded question.
You don't have to answer. You can plead the fifth.
Maybe people who watch the documentary may experience it that way.
Yeah.
But that was not the reason that I chose her.
Yeah, no, that was clear, yeah.
So, I have no power over how people experience it, but I will say this, that there are some alternatives that I could have chosen. But in the Netherlands, there are mainly men. So to me, that was already a no-go.
Right.
And then there are a few women who I could have chosen, but they are not in the Netherlands. And I feel that you need to be to the point. You need to speak clearly, without hesitance or without, what's the word, ambiguity?
Ambiguity.
Ambiguity. Yeah. So because I wanted the viewer to have a clear idea of what the history looked like, and then if they were interested, they could go on and dig deeper, right, and find their own material and look for material written or shared by people from Hindustani Suriname descent.
Yeah.
If they think that would be more trustworthy or so to say.
Yeah.
But no, I have no power over how people would experience it if she would be more believable, trustworthy because she is a white professor compared to somebody else.
So we hope we live in a time where that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
Which I think we generally do. So
yeah, I think and you know also it sparked up a lot of conversation between the older generation and the younger generation in general, which was really nice to see. The older generation, for a large part, they are grateful to the Dutch government, because if their ancestors would have stayed in India, they lived a bad life in India.
With the caste system there.
Caste system. There was famine in India at that point, so you know, people they were told they would go to a better country, right, to a better life, and they would have easy job for a lot of money. They would come back to India. I'm cutting the story short right now, but so. Let's say the generation of my father, they feel they should be grateful to the Dutch that their grandparents were taken from India and to Suriname to work on the plantations, because now look, we're in the Netherlands and we have a great life. And then the younger generation, but that's the general debate, I think, where we're more, you know, the critical thinking part is, I think, more active or something.
Yeah.
They say, no, we should, you know, this was bad and we need apologies and we should not be grateful. How should we be grateful? So,
right.
And in that point, I mean, if you look at it that way, it doesn't matter if Professor Hufte is a white woman or not, because it's about the history.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Nice. I know that my aunt who passed away this past December, she came over from Indonesia, and she had very much because some of that discussion, of course, is also happening in the Indonesian community, right? The same thing, of course, with the colonization, etc., and she would always remark how there was a big difference in that as well, like that they were, you know, when they landed here, it was hard. They had it really, really tough, but there was always that sense of being grateful, because she's also not Indonesian. She's it's Indies, right?
Yeah, so, it's different. So you have to
white father, and so of course it was not safe for them after you know, during the revolution, the freedom, good Lord, the independence war, and all of that stuff. So they carried with them a lot of gratitude, and they just took whatever they could get here. And then seeing like sort of later generations coming through and then saying like, oh, this needs to change, that needs to change. She goes, no, come on. Like, you know, like, so it's interesting that the different dynamic.
Exactly.
Funny.
Yeah,
interesting. I'm trying to think, like, I was trying to like secretly look like, did I have any other questions, but I couldn't do it so stiekem, so I'm gonna just like, okay, so we covered that part. I didn't even have to ask you about that one. You just launched into it. There's that one. You covered that one. That one you're really good at this.
I talk too much.
That was perfect. I was like, okay, do I need to follow it? No, you need very little prompting. I love it. It's been a very, very chill conversation. I do have one question that I want to ask. Actually, I have a couple questions still before we wrap up, and they're also related a bit to documentaries. One is, I think, I don't know who we're going to show, who's going to see or listen to our podcast, and hopefully it's experienced documentary filmmakers or experienced filmmakers, but also inspiring filmmakers and such. And on a sort of more technical level, how is it getting access, or technical, on a more boring level, accessing archival footage? Was was quite a challenge to approach, or how did you find the places to get that footage, and how did you get the permission to use it?
So there is a very famous filmmaker. His name is Abdul Rahman, and he's quite old now. He lives in the Netherlands, but he made many interesting films, fiction. Also in Suriname, but also in the Netherlands, and he's a friend of the family. So, network.
It's about who you know.
Network is super important. So I was. He gave me some archive footage. So that was really nice, and I spent hours and hours online finding material that I could use. That was free to use. What's the word?
Like sort of public domain.
Public domain, that was, I was looking for that. Public domain. So luckily, there are many libraries all over the world who have an online archive. And after a certain time, I think it's 70 years, the material becomes public domain. So that was really nice to be able to use. It was just browsing online forever. And then also what's it called? Beeld en Geluid in Hilversum.
Yeah.
They have open archive, and they also have footage that is nieuws uit de West. So Nieuws uit de West, for people, listeners, viewers who don't know that. It was during the time that the Netherlands had colonies overseas in Suriname, but then also Indonesia, what we know now is Indonesia. They have news from there, and they would that was news from the east, of course, but then news from the west from Suriname. I could use that as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So there's one part that I really love in the documentary, and it always, when I'm in the theaters with the screening of the documentary, people always laugh when that part comes up. It's where you see school children. They have a break, and then they all run out of school, and they go to the playground, and then who's waiting there? It's the guy who sells.
Oh yeah, the shaved ice.
The shaved ice. Yeah. And then so this small kid, this little boy, he holds up his hand, and then he gets shaved ice, and then a dollop of syrup on top, and then people always laugh at that part, and it's so funny because for people who don't know it, who are not from Suriname, they just think it's super funny, and for people who are from Suriname, it brings back memories. Obviously,
because you can explain it, but until you see what it looked like, because I think they did something similar in Indonesia as well, and because I remember my aunt used to talk about it, and I had no idea. I was like, we have cones, we have, it's all fancy, and there it was just like, boom, go right now, and I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really cool.
And then I would think, okay, so then he finishes, right? But then it would be all
you'd have sticky hands, and where would you wash it? Yeah. And I thought that too, and I was like, and then fly, bees, and
So that's where I got my my footage, my photos. Just like I said, many hours online, and making use of the open archives of different libraries.
Fair enough. All right. The internet more than me.
Yes.
Ben, I have we're wrapping up to close, but as you now know, so Patrick over there behind the camera, and myself and some other partners we have a documentary program that that's funded through the Maatschappelijke Diensttijd, where youth between 18 and 30 living in the Netherlands can sign up for one of the programs that we are running and learn what they need to, all the skills they need to make a documentary, and in the course of the program make their own documentary. Which is cool. I think it's really important for people to have so many different perspectives, and I think especially for youth, because oftentimes the youth are also a market that's that gets overlooked in terms of their voice, their wishes, and what's important to them. And I see a lot of value in making a documentary just for your own, to deepen your own understanding of a particular subject that you find important. So my question to you is, why should someone make a documentary?
I think you already answered your own question. No, but well, let me go back to how our conversation now started. To have footage of myself being 15 days old is super unique. And obviously, back in that time, it was unique. Now we have our phones and we can, film everything everywhere all the time. So it's not so unique anymore. But I see myself growing up literally through the eye of my father, who is filming this. And it tells a story. It's so personal. It tells a story that's real. It's not orchestrated. It's authentic. It's a real story, and I think that's why making documentaries is so important, because you have a tool, you have a way of telling a story of people who are maybe overlooked in society, who are marginalized, and everybody has a story. But it is true. I mean, on my way here for this interview today, I was standing on the platform waiting for the metro, and I just look around, and maybe it's just me, or maybe it's me as a filmmaker, but I wonder, where is this person going to? Why does he appear sad to me? Oh, wow, she has a cool new jacket. Is it new? I don't know it. It's all these things that go into my mind. Everybody who's walking around has a story, and I think the more we share real stories of authentic people, the more we understand each other, the more we can have empathy for each other. And I think we need that in the world. No, I do. Yeah. I really do. And so I think, especially when you say the youth, they have different things that they find interesting, or maybe different hobbies that people from another generation, they don't know about, or they don't care about, or they think they should not know about anything. But isn't it interesting to have this crossover, and how cool is it to use a medium as film to reach out and to share your life with somebody else? And even if it's only for a small group of people, but you have to start somewhere, and I think that's why we should make documentaries.
That's the mic drop moment right there. Like boom, that came out so good.
Well, yeah, how did I come up with that? No, but it's really from the heart, and maybe also because of my own documentary, that I see what happens. Like I said, like I mentioned a couple of times already, that during the Q&As, I'm not there. For the Q&As, I'm not there to be, oh, wow, you made this documentary so nice. No, I'm there because I want to witness what happens in the audience, how people start to talk to each other, or whether it's about, oh, I didn't know about this history, or I think it's a bad history or it's a good history, or whatever. Now I know more about Surinamese people. I have a neighbor who is from Suriname, and now I didn't know about this history because he never shares about. Why should he share history if you don't know where to start asking, and so I think it's really from the heart that I feel.
It sounded very. That was fair then. Yeah, no, I thought it was. I mean, you couldn't have spoken so quickly if you didn't. I think, but. Yeah, no, for sure, and that impact that you can make with the story.
It's the impact that you can make. I think you can really change lives, depending on topic and the way you bring it. And maybe sometimes people think documentary is boring because you don't get to do stunt work and flashy camera work, but it's not about that. It's about you can be very creative in the way you tell the story and how you use your B-roll, for example, or whatnot. And like I said, if I had other resources, I would have loved to go to India and also film there for my documentary, or to Suriname, or both. But you need to make different choices. I had to make different choices, but there are many choices you can make to make a documentary super powerful.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, it was very, like I said, it was very nice watch. It's the end of the day. I was exhausted. I wanted to go to sleep. And I was like, I have to make sure I watch this before the interview. And yeah, I didn't yawn once. So
good.
So it was very interesting.
I'm happy to hear that.
And as the final closer, because that was now a couple of years ago, what's next on the horizon for Anita?
What's next? So I'm directing for the NTR for a program called Iedereen Verlicht, which is a program again about the Hindoestaanse culture. And I'm directing two episodes, and it's going to be about the 50th anniversary of the Republic of Suriname. This year, it's 50 years ago that Suriname got their independence.
Right.
And so I'm directing 2 episodes for this program. And it's going to be aired later this year in September and October. And I'm writing a short, which is very personal. Am I going to share this? Yeah, I'm going to share it.
Okay.
So my family home was sold recently, and we've lived there, or I didn't live there anymore at the last part, but it has been in the family for 39 years. Yeah. And it was quite emotional. So I'm writing a script for a short about that.
Okay.
Which is going to be, I'm not sure which direction it's going to be. Maybe it's going to be a dark comedy.
Oh. Now I really want to know what growing up there was like. Okay.
Yeah.
No, okay. Nice. Is it a way sort of for you then to get a little closure on the sale of the home as well?
Yeah. Because I went through this whole process. I helped my parents with the whole the whole technical part of putting up the house for sale and doing things like that. So I felt I was very detached from the emotions that I had, and then when it was actually, when we were nearing the date for handing over the actual key and signing the contract, I got so emotional, and I was there clearing the house and packing everything, and I thought I should do something with this. I feel so it's grief. It's So I thought I should make a movie. So
sounds like a productive way to channel. Yeah.
So that's that, and and I still have a lot of footage from 2016 when I was half a year in Scandinavia, and I'm thinking about making a big video about the outdoors. I love nature videos.
Nice. Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Plenty to keep you busy then.
Plenty to keep me busy, and I'm looking forward to future projects.
Good.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. I think that you like. I'm not done. Got more to go.
Not done. Not ready for a new profession.
Good. Then I'm not going to keep you here any longer, since it sounds like you got lots to do. Thank you so much for coming here all the way from the east to the Netherlands, and it was a lovely conversation, and we're really grateful that you took the time to be here today.
Thank you, Elmer. I enjoyed being here. Thank you for a nice conversation.
Yes. Till next time.